Alright, what's going on YouTube? My name is JerryNova. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about the Black Ops Cold War beta. First weekend is over, and I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion on the pros and cons of this game and whether or not it's worth buying at its current state. Now, that being said, those words current state means that they are probably going to fix things from now until next weekend, and the things that I'm saying may be fixed as well, but at its current state right now at the end of the first weekend, these are my first impressions, and this is what I truly think of the game. So let's start off with the pros. If we're looking at the game, I really like the core gameplay design itself. It's an arcade style shooter that Treyarch usually comes up with. It has nice bright colors, and I use that word bright loosely because we're going to be talking about that in a minute, but very bright colors, and it seems like it's very objective based gameplay, and it kind of makes people push. Having that mini-map back is a big thing. I know a lot of people didn't like not having it in Modern Warfare, and now that it's back in this, it feels a lot smoother. Speaking of smoother, the game smoothness is much better than it was in the alpha. It feels less choppy, and it feels much better than the alpha does in terms of movement from left to right to sprinting to sliding. It definitely felt like it was a more finished and polished product in the beta, and I'm hoping that even in the full release, it'll be a little smoother then, and maybe even next weekend we'll see a little glimpse of the growth in this week alone for them coding and doing whatever they have to do to fix the game a little bit more. Next up, we have the gunsmith. I love what they did with the gunsmith in this, and I think everyone agrees. It made it super simple for everyone to understand, down to the millisecond of ADS time, the bullet velocity in terms of, I want to say they almost did miles per hour, but I know they did millisecond, they did percentages, so it'll show you like, oh, aim down sight speed decreases by this much time in milliseconds, aka this percentage. So you can really get in depth on that, and I think that's a great addition to the game. It makes it way easier for everyone to understand what attachments truly do. So they took what Modern Warfare did with the gunsmith, they added all that extra stuff on top of it. Next, we have the FOV slider, which I think is an amazing addition to the game. Console has never been able to do an FOV slider in the past, and I think that this is mainly meant for next-gen systems because they'll be a little more powerful, because we can't really control the hardware that we have inside of our consoles like you can with a PC, upgrading your CPU, your graphics card, etc. The one thing that they did warn us against, and for me playing on a 2014 original PS4 console, I don't have a PS4 Pro, you can get some drop frames when adjusting your FOV slider. Typically this comes when you bring it above 100 to like 107, I want to say, FOV. That being said, I am really excited to see how it performs with next-gen consoles and if we are really getting a frame drop. Speaking of next-gen consoles being more powerful and more PC-like in their power, I think it's going to be really cool to look into the customization that we will have on next-gen with them being so much more powerful than what we have right now. So unfortunately, that ends my pros list, and we have to kind of shift into the cons now. And I know that wasn't a lot, but the cons, I feel like most of them can be fixed going from this weekend into next weekend, or at least by launch, they'll be able to fix some of these things. And we're going to start off with the inconsistent gunfights. Because the servers aren't running properly, the gunfights seemed a little inconsistent. Connection made it look like you would die in 2 bullets, but your gun is a pea shooter, and it takes you like 5 to 6 to kill the other guy. On top of that, it could be pretty jittery at times, especially with the broken slide mechanic in the game right now, and I know they've already made an announcement saying that they were going to tweak the way sliding works and kind of fix that right now, so we don't have to deal with that too much, hopefully even by next weekend. The next one is probably the one that stopped me from enjoying the game the most, and that would be grenades and stuns. Grenades and stuns are completely overused in the beta, at least in weekend 1. A lot of the good perks were locked away behind higher levels, so players were forced to use perks and wildcards that gave them extra equipment, and they definitely used it. People were running around with 2 stuns and 2 grenades in 6v6 and 12v12, especially on Cartel. This was super frustrating. You wouldn't be able to run out of your spawn without getting hit by a stun and getting shot, or getting hit by a stun and then blown up. And by the time that those were finally done blowing up in your face, someone got artillery from throwing that many grenades. It was a broken system, and I really hope that they somehow nerf the explosive damage that grenades do, because if a grenade was anywhere near me, I would die. And speaking of grenades, I think they need to tweak the directional mechanic in which it shows you a grenade is near you, because sometimes it looked like it was behind you, in front of you, it looked like it was over a wall in front of you, and you'd still blow up. And I think they need to tweak that a little bit. It doesn't seem like any other Call of Duty game has had an issue that big with the grenades, but hopefully they fix that going into next weekend. And one final thing on the grenades is that it seemed like people didn't really use their weapons to challenge you anymore, and that mainly the gunfights were finished with you getting stunned or blowing up. I'd get shot a few times and be alive, and I'd go to stim myself, but in came a grenade from someone else or that person, and then after it blows up, they run around the corner and collect your tag or run past your dead body. That was extremely frustrating, so I hope Treyarch really fixes that and tweaks the explosive damage at least a little bit with the grenades in the game. So, going back to what I said about brightness, this game was extremely colorful and I loved it, but although it was colorful, sometimes it was oversaturated and too bright. I actually had to bring my brightness down a ton. This is probably the lowest brightness that I've had in a Call of Duty in probably any Call of Duty, if I'm being honest. It was to a point where things were so bright I wouldn't be able to see someone, or they blend in with just a white background from a reflective light surface, and that could be the fact that it's just an old PS4 and I'm playing a very next-gen based game, but I had to bring down my brightness to a point where things weren't extremely bright and blinding, but then everything became undersaturated and dull. So it seemed like giving up the good colors of the game and that little bit of extra brightness that could be blinding and distracting, you had to give that up to get undersaturated and dull, something that didn't feel good, almost felt like Modern Warfare. And don't get me wrong, Modern Warfare was a beautiful game and the graphics were amazing, but it wasn't the brightest in terms of color. Everything was kind of dull. All right, so next we're going to talk about map design. The map design wasn't bad, but some of the maps need work. I had trouble spotting people in bushes on Cartel, at distance on Crossroads and Armada. I even had some trouble seeing areas in the sand dunes where people were hiding in the background in Satellite. Sometimes the textures would get so mixed I'd have to play a guessing game of whether it was a person that I was looking at or some other object in the distance. Again, this isn't the biggest issue, but it definitely needs some work, and the textures and the lighting do need to be tweaked a little bit because those last 2 points really bothered me when playing. All right, so the next one, the big bad wolf of Call of Duty the past year, and it seems to be back, is the nightmare that is skill-based matchmaking. And I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking skill-based matchmaking has been in every Call of Duty since all the way back to COD 2. What I'm gonna say is it's not like this. Obviously, there was some type of skill-based matchmaking back in the day, but the skill-based matchmaking in this game is so much worse because it pulls you out of the lobby after every game and you get forced into a new game. And what makes the skill-based matchmaking in this game so much worse than those ones is how extreme it is. I think this is the sweatiest Call of Duty experience that I've ever had, and I've been playing Call of Duty online for 12 years. I've been playing Call of Duty online for 12 years. I know what skill-based matchmaking feels like when it's overdone, and this was overdone. I'd say it was even worse than Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare had really rough skill-based matchmaking. Being pulled out of a lobby and put into a brand new one after every game was extremely frustrating, not only because you can't play with some of the players that you wanted to finish that rival with. If they were on the other team, it would kick you out and you'd be forced to play against people who were more fit toward your gameplay style. And if you are good at the game, which I'm not the best, but I'm definitely good at Call of Duty, that's why I wanted to create a YouTube channel for it, it makes it really tough. And they put you in games and lobbies where it's a lot of people who are very talented like you. And this is a very tricky topic and I won't spend too much on it, but I think that it's very important to get stomped into the dirt while beginning a new game online. I was horrible in World at War. When I first started playing Call of Duty, I couldn't break 10 kills a game. I would always get stomped by everyone on the other team. Even when I reached higher prestiges, because I no-lifed the crap out of World at War, even though I was bad, I was still put in lobbies where I would get clapped by people who were even lower of a level than me. And I think that was really vital to me wanting to become better at Call of Duty, and I actually think that that is the reason that I became so good. I had to change the way I played and make it so I could overcome how everyone else played and honestly model myself after players who were beating me so much. I found new areas in the map, I found new flanks, I found new techniques in the guns and attachments that helped on each gun. But yeah, the skill-based matchmaking definitely needs to go. In the alpha, they didn't kick you out of the game every lobby, and it felt a lot better and it ran smoother for sure. Having this kick you out of every game makes it so you have to find a new game, a new lobby, and you'll probably join one that's late because it wants to autofill you into a game anyway. So there's a lot of problems that I have with it. I'm not going to continue to talk about it. I'm sure a lot of you guys agree, but it needs to be fixed. The next thing I want to add is weapon balancing and upgrading. Some weapons were completely overpowered. The weapon balancing was rough because I feel like SMGs ran the game. And I actually had someone in the comment section say that they noticed that the XM4 and M16 was what was dominating. And that could be the case on some maps, especially longer range. But for the most part, SMGs were melting me every time I tried to use an assault rifle, and as soon as I switched to an SMG, I had no issues at all. Again, this could have been due to the connection and the overall nature of the game and the servers and how they were at that moment, but the SMGs were rough. One final opinion that not everyone is going to agree on it. I think that they shouldn't have nerfed the snipers. They felt amazing in the alpha, and in the beta, I get nothing but hit markers, and I hit pretty close to the center chest, and at some points, even the shoulder didn't seem like it really did anything, and I would get hit markers. There were some points where I was like, well, I would have like 20 kills by now, but instead I have 8 because I hit marker them, and then I die. Oh, and one last thing on top of that is the weapon upgrading seemed like it took way too long. I couldn't unlock a lot of the attachments because I wanted to try all the different weapons, but I couldn't try all the different weapons and get the good attachments for them. I had to try and focus on one weapon and level that up. And even when I started doing that, it still took way too long. I don't think I have one weapon maxed out because it was taking me so long to upgrade, and I tried a lot of the different weapons in the beta, but again, took way too long to upgrade, so I couldn't really bring you guys too much content on different weapons and maxed out weapons like that. I do think that they need to make it so you can level them up faster so we can actually get a feel for what attachments may be broken or which ones may not work at all or which ones are completely useless and which ones are overpowered, you know what I mean? So I think that they need to fix that as well. That's pretty much been my first impressions of Black Ops Cold War at its current state at the end of the first weekend beta. I've told you guys all what I think. I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of the game, what your pros and cons are, and what outweighs the other. In terms of should you buy it, honestly, at this point, I don't know. I know that if they don't fix a lot of the things, I'm not going to play it as much as I thought I would, and I'm going to kind of regret buying it, especially the more expensive version to get the next gen piece of it. But if they fix these tiny minor issues and some of the bigger ones as well, believe me, I think we need the big ones fixed. I think this game is going to be very fun, and I have a lot of faith in it. But until they fix these issues, I really don't see myself enjoying Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. But yeah, don't forget to comment down below and let me know what you guys think of the game so far, or if you guys have any questions and I can answer them in the comments for you, I would be glad to do so. A like rating is always appreciated, and subscribe if you aren't already. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.